What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to the MMA Savvy podcast. It's your favorite host, Ari Weiss, alongside combat sports expert, Big Rich Fulgoni. And today we'll be discussing UFC 319, Chimaev versus Du Plessis, and then UFC Fight Night, Walker versus Zhang, that went down Saturday night in Shanghai in standard Savvy fashion. We'll go through the card, break down all the big fights, and analyze what's next for the winning fighters. So with that, let's go straight to the card and get rolling. Okay, baby. So listen, before we get to the fights that happened last night, Big Rich did not like my analysis, and he wants to come on and set it straight for the Chimaev situation. So I'll give you the mic here, my guy.
Yo, I just think it was typical Ari overreaction Barney time. No, your analysis was clean for the most part. Obviously, he dominated that fight, right? There's no doubt. Positional control for pretty much 25 minutes. Didn't even have any sort of action from Du Plessis until the end, and there's a little scramble there and, you know, a really weak submission attempt. But overall, I think there's been an overreaction to Chimaev's performance, like from a standpoint of, oh, this guy can go up now and maybe you get a belt at another weight class, this, that, and the other. And it's like, whoa, slow down. We saw him fight for 5 minutes. That's a huge step for him, right? He's been having health issues. It's been clear that he's got past those, and he's in good fighting shape. He's stronger than ever. But I think he played it very safe in that fight. So yes, dominating performance from a positional standpoint, but he did not take risks with the striking. He kept very close, head buried, chest to chest, skin to skin, not leaving a lot of space for him to move, but also not leaving space to land elbows and do ground and pound. I mean, it's kind of crazy to see a guy get in a crucifix like that multiple times and take pretty minimal damage. And I think the most glaring stat is when you look at the punch stats, there's strikes landed, 567 strikes, something like that, 37 significant with damn near 25 minutes of control time. So, you know, it's the whole, I'm going to kill everybody, smash, all this kind of stuff. I want to see the smash. I want to see the kill. And that part was missing. Dominant fight, dominant performance, but I wanted to see the kill everybody Khamzat, and we didn't get that. I hope we see it in the future. I think he was just trying to bank 5 rounds under his belt. He knew he was a very dangerous guy that he was going up against, and he played it a little bit safe. We saw on, I think it was a Jackson podcast, they were discussing, because Armin was in camp with him over there, and he said after round 3, apparently Chimaev wanted to stand and trade with him a little bit. And actually Armin gave him the advice to not do that and play it safe. And I think that was the right call. However, if we're going to see this dominant champion that everybody's making it sound like he already is, I want to see him go with some kill instincts and go for some finishes, whether it's striking or submissions. But I just want to see that ferocity to match all the hype that's coming out with this victory.
That's fine, but I do got to say, like, listen, he dominated him for 5 rounds, right? And not everybody's going to get the finish. Maybe Du Plessis that good to at least avoid the finish. He is a big, jacked, huge guy, right? So maybe Khamzat just couldn't get the finish, right? And he still dominated for all rounds. And DDP never even got up. He never showed me anything. He didn't get up one time. He barely sprawled. He didn't block any takedowns, right? So... No. I don't want to bash. I see what you're saying, but not everybody's going to get the finish. I still feel like he dominated amazingly well, and I'm not even a Chimaev guy.
All I can hope for is that he's going to be active enough to at least fight twice a year. I don't want to see this once a year, hold the division up, you know, waiting for him to get healthy or get in shape.
Okay, well, good stuff. Let's move on, because last night was Walker versus Zhang, baby, live in Shanghai. You know Wally loves the international fights, because this is what pissed us both off, though, because the prelim started at 12 a.m. It's ridiculous that Dana would screw us like this, because I was actually going to sleep, and I put the early prelims on, and I heard the crowd even go nuts, and I was like, you got to be kidding me, because I was pissed, because they were like chanting the whole time for the Chinese fighters. So I did like the vibe. I liked the energy. I know you didn't love this main event, and Zhang was sort of put on, you know, it was a special focused fight for him in front of the Chinese crowd. Let's see what went down. We're just going to quickly talk about the top 3 fights, because this card was, for a fight night, pretty stacked, at least with rankings, right? So let's go straight into Pavlovich, Cortes-Acosta, number 3 heavyweight in the world versus number 6 heavyweight in the world. And I got to say, Pavlovich came back and looked pretty good. We know he was the boogeyman for a while. Remember, he went on that crazy run, right? He runs into Aspinall, he gets finished, and then he just doesn't show up against Volkov. And all of a sudden, he wasn't the same guy. but he
Right.
reset himself against Rosenstrike. And then now he looks like a new, calm, collected, smarter Pavlovich, right? And I thought
Definitely.
the first round was close. Let's go through the fight. The first round
Yeah.
was close. Cortes-Acosta definitely was standing his ground and matching the power a little bit of Pavlovich here. But by the second round and then the third round, Pavlovich just had much better striking, more control, really just took over the fight. And I mean, it wasn't like a total domination, but to me, I thought he probably won all 3 rounds. And it shows that, I don't know about a title shot, but he's going to keep that number 3 ranking. And I was very impressed about the evolution of Pavlovich. And now I'm really liking this guy because he doesn't just go for broke and try to get knockouts. He actually went in with a very smart tactical game plan. And I thought he got it, swept the scorecards 30-27. What do you feel here, Richie boy?
I'm with you. I think he should have swept the scorecards. But yeah, I think he was really sharp. I think he was focused. He was defensive. He wasn't rushing in, to your point. I think the Aspinall, fight, of course, is going to change you, right? You get knocked out. And unlike Aaron Pico, you got to correct what you're doing there with that forward rushing in movement. But yeah, his hands look great. He wasn't landing crisp early on, but then he started to lock it in and get his timing down. And I got to give it up to Acosta-Cortez, man. He ate some big punches that would have slept a lot of dudes. That guy's tough. I was kind of surprised neither fighter used leg kicks much. We started to see a little bit at the end of the second round or beginning of the third round, some big leg kicks, but and maybe a teep from Pavlovich. But yeah, definitely reset himself, looked good. He's dangerous. He's going to be a problem right there. He could easily jump up and get a fight, with Aspinall again, depending what happens at the top with Volkov.
So actually, let's do something special here and look at the rankings. We don't need to do a top 15 analysis, but let's look at what's next for Pavlovich. So he's going to maintain the number 3 ranking, as you can see. We have Aspinall gone, as you just mentioned. They're booked for Abu Dhabi in about 2 months from now, right? And on the same card, you got Volkov Almeida. Blades just says he wants to take some time off, right? And so I think Pavlovich sits here because why fight down again? He already just did that. He already just dispatched of the number 6 guy who we know probably shouldn't have had that win over Spivak. But other than that, he had been on that really good run, right? And so he dispatched of this guy in this crazy run. He impressed Dana. I thought he looked really, really good. And so now I say he has the right to just sit there, monitor these big fights that are going to happen, because either he's going to be maybe next in line, depending on what happens with Volkov Almeida, or most likely he gets the loser of Aspinall Gan or the loser of Volkov Almeida. That's probably what occurs, because you would imagine the winner of Volkov Almeida is going to get Aspinall if he wins, right? But at least he's right there. He solidified his number 3 ranking. Do you see this the same way, sir?
Yeah, man. We're kind of at a deficit of top fighters in the division. Let's just be honest, right? So he's going to maintain that spot. Like I said, with Aspinall there, I don't know that he ever wins it, but it seems like, if Volkov wins, maybe he's an eliminator there, or maybe he gets straight to the belt again. It's just, we're just lacking a lot of talent in this division right now. So he's going to be a problem. And I think that's why he was smart to work on his game and get more defensive and stuff. But I think still against a guy like Aspinall, who's got just too many weapons and too much speed, I just don't see him ever getting the belt while Tom's around.
Okay. Co-main, Ortega versus Sterling. This was marred because of the weight cut situation. It's such a bummer because this was the fight I was most excited about, because we all know T-City. He's always going to bring it. He's number 5 featherweight in the world versus Sterling, number 7. And I feel like if you go back to the Evloev fight, he might have won that decision. That was super close. He was razor thin. So he's a player still right outside of the top 5. So because of the weight cut, they still did a catch weight fight, as you can see. They ended up fighting at 153. But man, Ortega just looked so sluggish and slow. He didn't look like his normal self. And they said, yes, he was trying to conserve energy just to make sure he didn't gas. But by the time he started going, which was late in the 3rd round, Sterling had already had the rounds. And so Sterling looked great on the feet, shockingly, too. He looked better on the feet than I think I've almost ever seen him. Yeah, finally by the 3rd round, Ortega starts throwing, but it's almost a little too late. I thought the 4th was kind of close because Ortega was finally fighting, and the final rounds were competitive. But really, Sterling outstruck him. He outgrappled him. Ortega really never even got Sterling into a dangerous submission situation. I mean, think of Ortega Volkanovski. He almost submitted Volk to then kind of not even really show up here. So was it the weight cut, or is he just older and he's not the same guy? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, man. I don't think I would have picked Ortega even if he had made weight, to be clear. I still think I liked
Yeah.
Sterling in the fight. With that said, Ortega, it just seems like something's going on, like off the court, so to speak. He just hasn't. I know he had a break. I think he was engaged to Cortez. They broke up. I think he's with a new girl now, maybe even engaged or married. I think I heard something about him maybe getting born again. It just seems like he's got a lot of moving parts outside of the ring. And when I see him in there, you don't see that big smiling smirk like he's happy to be there and excited to fight. It almost seems like that's missing right now. So I hope that he finds whatever he needs to get motivated. He's still incredibly dangerous, and you saw that at flashes, in that 5th round. Sterling, was smart to get a couple takedowns there and avoid some of the damage because he was starting to get going. But to your point, Sterling, I've been a critic of him more for his antics and corniness, but not his actual skill set. I didn't think he was one of the most impressive champions when he was down at the lower division, but I got to give it up. He looked really, really good in that fight. He kept distance well. He did start running a little bit at the end there, rounds 4 and 5. But he still even responded. And the thing I liked is at the end of the round there when he took him down, and then he really started landing some ground and pound. I think the strangest thing about that fight was when he punched him in the eye, and then Ortega looked like he thought it was an eye poke, and there was that weird pause stoppage thing. And then the commentators were mentioning they share the same manager and this and that, and it was kind of weird because there was no killer instinct from Sterling. And I think that maybe that's the thing that's always missing with him is he's not like an angry fighter. He doesn't want to hurt somebody necessarily. He wants to win the fight. You know what I
thought, Rich, not to jump in?
Yeah, no.
You know what I thought was that because he has Jan in the back of his mind, remember how he got the title because of the DQ, and then everybody messed with him. Oh, you were acting, bro, and all this stuff. So I wondered if he just like, you know what? I don't ever want to go down with a weird, questionable strike. That's what I thought of. But anyway,
maybe,
continue.
Yeah, no, you might be right. But either way, impressive performance by Sterling, and I think that striking is going to serve him well. It was kind of crazy. We didn't see the fight go to the ground, I think, until the 3rd round. But no, impressive performance. I hope Ortega gets right whatever is going on with him. I hope he finds his passion for the fight game again. It just seems like he's missing something, but he's 34 now. What do we get out of him? I'm not sure what the future holds, but I'd like to see him rebound from this fight and come in looking focused and looking happy and looking like he wants to be there.
Okay, so just like we did before, let's just look at the division. Here's the featherweight division. We're not going to do a full analysis, but let's just talk about what is next for the winning fighter here. This is what all the fight fans want to see. So obviously the rankings haven't adjusted, but come Monday morning, Sterling will now be the number 5 guy. And now I'm actually glad that we're doing this because this division's been pissing me off. After Volk won the title against Lopez, there was all this narrative, oh my God, I'm going to fight 3 times a year. I'm going to take on all these guys. Where the hell is the booking, Dana? It's unbelievable. It doesn't make any sense, as I thought it was supposed to be Volkanovski, Rodriguez, and it still hasn't been booked. And then after Murphy won recently, there was all this talk of Volk online. Oh, Murphy's next in line. I'm like, 4 months have gone by. Why haven't they figured this out? So anyway, now Sterling is back in the running here. I think it's Volkanovski, Rodriguez. I think it's Evloev, Murphy, and then Sterling will be sitting there. As you know, Lopez is already booked against Silva. So what we have to do is Volk needs to be booked, and then you know what Sterling gets. But I do believe he's a player now in the top 5. Do you like that analysis?
Yeah, I do. I agree with you because I think Jean Silva is just going to blow through Lopez, and the guy is just so talented. He might be the best out of the fighting nerds, which is hard to say because they're all really, really talented. And we'll get to see Ruffy here pretty soon, but it's gonna be really interesting. Murphy, he deserves. Any one of these guys can have a shot. I'd rather see if Silva wins that fight, I'd rather see him or Murphy get a shot before I'd like to see Yair get it again. Yair's not had an impressive resume, win 1, lose 1. The fact that he's highly ranked like that is just because he's got such a crazy skill set and he can beat anybody on any given day, but it's not like he's been putting together an impressive run that warrants a title shot more than any of these other guys. So I think it was nice that we kind of know where Ortega's at after that fight. It gives Sterling, a higher position, but he's 1 or 2 fights away from potentially getting a shot at the belt, or maybe he ends up seeing Silva after if he beats Lopez, right? Maybe that's a match they make, and that would be really interesting. I don't think that would go well for Sterling. I think he'd end up on the floor, but there's some good movement here potentially now, and yeah, but I'm with you. I don't know what's taking so long. Maybe they're letting Volk have a little bit of a rest just because of his age.
Maybe he needed more of a rest than he wanted to say to the public.
Right.
And then Evloev got hurt. He was supposed to fight Pico. Something should have been booked by now. I feel this is my prediction that Volk finally is going to take a fight in December, whether it's Murphy or whether it's Rodriguez, because I think
Right.
Evloev is still healing from his injury, so it can't be him, and Lopez is already booked. All right, let's move back. Main event of the evening. Johnny Walker, number 13, light heavyweight in the world, versus Zhang Mingyang, new Chinese superstar, number 14. Like, listen, my boy Walker came through. You guys were dissing me. I was calling out Walker, even though we all picked Mingyang because he looked like a killer. He'd had like 8 straight first-round finishes. He killed Smith, obviously, in that Smith retirement bout, and it looked like he's this new destroyer, and it was set to be an amazing storyline live in Shanghai in front of a raucous crowd. He did look good in the first round. He had great elbows, a couple right hands, but he was pacing himself, and you know what was so funny? Remember how Bisping even said, oh, we're in the second round. This is the only time Mingyang ever loses. Johnny Walker weathered the storm. He's got that kind of squirrely, wild style. Him and his brother are both nutcases. I kind of dig them. And then he weathered the storm in that first round. He survived, right? He got buckled a couple times. And in the second round, Mingyang kind of slowed down. He did throw a couple bombs. And then, boom, it was the calf kicks. 3 consecutive calf kicks. I think it hit the tendon there, is what Bisping was saying. Loss, you know, feeling in the leg. He couldn't stand it, and he kind of just turtled up and gave it. And was it Goddard? He let it go for a while. Yeah, he let it go for a while because he really wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, but good stoppage they had to because he was really raining in shots.
No, he finally covered up and turtled, and it was stopped, I think, at the right time for sure.
What do you say to that? Pretty
interesting.
Point.
I thought maybe he even broke his leg or something. It was immediate. He went to put pressure on it. I wouldn't be surprised to see if there's an injury there, but yeah, that was really strange. With that said, I think I was calling him Big Bang Zhang. I was expecting to see, that's actually a boxer nickname, but I was expecting to see some big hands from him, and he did show that, and he did get to Walker a couple times. But one thing that was kind of glaring to me is the way he fights and strikes. He just kind of keeps his head straight up, man, and it's kind of just straight on the center line. There's not a lot of head movement there at all. I was kind of getting worried that, you know, Walker was going to use one of his spinning attacks or a flying knee or one of those things that end up knocking him out anyway, even if he didn't hit him with that nerve. And initially, I was obviously picking Zhang to win the fight. I thought, you know, we've seen Walker get knocked out so many times, but the guy's impressive, man. He gets in there and he shakes off all the previous demons and cobwebs and ghosts, dude, and just goes after it. So hats off to Walker. You know, respect to him. Is a great win for him, and we'll see. Those guys were kind of dancing around in the top 15. We'll see where he goes from there, but a little bit of a setback for Zhang for sure.
Yeah, the last thing I would say is just for a great UFC storyline, you're a little bit bummed because there still has never been an Asian-born male champion, and I thought maybe this guy was going to come blitzkrieg through. You do have Tyra in the flyweight division that could be the first guy to do it, and so this is a little bit of a bummer, even though I do like Walker, so it's good to see him reset himself. Yeah. We're not going to look at the full top 15 here because they're so much lower in the rankings, but I will say I looked at it earlier, and Walker does have, he could fight Guskov, he could fight Krylov, he could maybe run it back with Hill. There's a couple good options of guys that finished him before that he wants revenge on. So I think he's still viable, right? He's still going to maybe get a 9 through 12 guy next. And then Zhang, I think he's still there because this was sort of almost like a freak loss where it's like guys don't usually completely go down with the whole leg strike. So I think he's still there. He'll still get probably a big fight in the future. Any last words here before we end the show?
Yeah, well, I'll just say, I think I'd like, if I'm looking at what's going to happen with Walker next, I think I'd like to see him versus Ozdemir, right? I think that would be an exciting fight. I think that there's going to be fireworks there. And they're kind of like positioned correctly in the division. I think him leapfrogging up to a Hill would be kind of unfair to some of the other guys, even though I'd like to see that fight again. You know, Hill needs to get right fight, that's for sure. But yeah, let's book that, Dana. I'd love to see No Time Ozdemir versus Johnny Walker. Someone's going to sleep in that fight, no doubt.
I like that because he lost to Volkan and he lost to Hill earlier, and those were those rematches. I said maybe he'll get it back. Maybe he's on that run, and his brother is on a crazy run at heavyweight right now. Okay, that's it for this week. Thank you for listening to the MMA Savvy podcast, the world's top place for MMA content. And if you love these weekly episodes, make sure to hit subscribe. And if you're a real MMA enthusiast, check out the old MMA Savvy videos on our page. You might see some UFC legends pop up, such as Nick Diaz, Ronda Rousey, and John Jones. The old channel has been revived, and we couldn't be more excited. Please subscribe, follow, comment, like, share, and blast on all of our social channels. We've been blasting hard on the talk. We're heavy on the gram, and we're going crazy on the tube. That's at MMA Savvy. And make sure to comment and challenge our takes if you have disagreements. We love the comments and interactions with the fans. So with that, stay savvy, fight fans.